Welcome in, everyone. I'm Anita Foster with the Arlington ISD, and today we're going to bring you up to date on every action step taken by the district in response to the Lamar High School shooting. One student was killed, another was injured, and many of our students are changed forever. I have three guests with us today that were all frontline responders to the tragedy at Lamar High School. Dr. Marcelo Cavastos, our superintendent of schools, David Stevens, head of security here at Arlington ISD, and Andy Hagman, our principal at Lamar High School. Oh, I'm already emotional, Principal Hagman. Tell us what the day was like for you at Lamar High School yesterday.
Unbelievable. I was literally walking down the hall to the east side of the school to do metal detector checks that morning when the call came out that there was someone had heard shots fired. And so I'm running down the hall now, and I ran into a kid who was visibly upset, and I asked her, are you okay? And she said yes, just shaken. I said, okay, just go ahead and get to the cafeteria for now, and just let's get you settled down. And then moved on, encountered another student, similar situation, and then made it to the east landing, which is where the shooting took place, and stepped out onto the landing, and one of our security officers was standing next to a student who was lying on the ground, and went to him, and we tended to the student. At first, I wasn't sure exactly what to do with the student because fearing what level of injury there was. But our security officer was on the radio with someone. I don't know if it was 911, but we were instructed to go ahead and begin CPR if we could not find a pulse. And we could not. And so the security officer began CPR and continued until police officers arrived, and then EMT, and then they took over.
So I'm going to come back to the next steps there. But David Stevens, I want to come to you because it's before the school day started. So you've got kids that are outside the school. The shooting occurs. As Principal Hagman pointed out, your security officer is right there on the spot, radioed for help, started CPR. What were you making happen behind the scenes while this operation was getting underway?
When this first occurred, I was actually on my way into the office, and I received a call from Arlington Police Department personally. They told me what was going on. So I started making notifications because this, like you said, it occurred early in the morning. It was about 6:55 yesterday morning. And I put the school actually into a lockdown at 7:12 after getting notifications and getting some corroborating information. Activated the actual lockdown. That even though that had already occurred on campus, once incident occurred, they started gathering students who were there, bringing them inside, getting them to a safe place. So we activated the actual lockdown system, and getting additional staff to respond from our end, from the district side of it, notifying senior staff, coordinating with Arlington Police Department about anything they might need during their response, and just kind of helping out any way I could until I could get there.
And Dr. Cavassos, you got that early morning phone call too, and as the leader of the entire district, I know it's not a phone call you want to get at any time of day. What went through your mind, and what actions did you start with yesterday morning?
Yeah, Anita, so first and foremost, we're heartbroken as the school district and as Lamar High School. And my thoughts and prayers continue with the school, with all of us in the community. But I will share that when that call came in, you jump into action and make sure that you do everything possible to make sure the situation is one that we can begin to control and begin to provide service and emergency services for any student or staff that needs it. And so that was the immediate response and reaction. It's a heartbreaking call, but it's one, unfortunately, that we had to deal with. We prepare for a lot of situations, Anita, but as you know, it's almost impossible to prepare for the emotion. But that call came in, and I made my way to Lamar High School, in the morning traffic and as all that was occurring. And I did get to the school, and I joined Mr. Hagman and Dr. Hill there, and security and police, to begin the processing. It was under lockdown, and so we began the processing of the steps, what exactly is happening, had communication with our police chief, and with people on site as well, outside the building.
And Principal Hagman, you're there at the school, you know this has happened, you're tending to the student, and you have students everywhere that morning. So I know one of the first things that you all did, your staff did, was open the building and sweep all those kids that were outside into the building. How did that happen?
So as we're tending to the student who was down, the other assistant principals were bringing kids into the building, and we were informing teachers to open their doors, their classrooms, and get kids into their classrooms, into the safe space as quickly as possible. Because I knew that a lockdown was coming, but with buses coming in, with parents dropping kids off, we had too many moving bodies outside that we needed to get moving inside into a safe space.
And I think you guys really did amazing work to get our students into the building. And David, you mentioned right after that, sweep all the kids inside, you locked the building down. Now, it stayed in lockdown for about the next 3 or 4 hours there at Lamar, depending on what time release started. So now we're in lockdown. And I know, David, part of your primary job is that interface with the Arlington Police Department. If we were not confident in the response that Arlington Police would provide to such an occasion, we are now, because they were there very quickly. What was the communication you were having with Arlington Police Department?
Yeah, so I'm actually in direct communication with their command post. They have my number. We call, we talk back and forth. So they're letting me know, hey, this is what's going on. And any kind of major incident such as this, they're going to be clearing the building, as they call it. So it's a methodical search, every part of that building, room by room, every area, make sure everybody's safe, make sure there's no other threats in the building or anything else. So it's going to take a very long time to make this. It's a very large campus. And so they're keeping me updated with that. Any resources or anything they might have needed, such as additional keys to the building for their search teams. We're working on all that stuff behind the scenes and, talking back and forth and providing updates so that we can plan and prepare our next steps.
And I know you guys, you talk with the police department all the time. I mean, it's not just on a crisis day, it's every day, blue sky day, a cloudy day. You're in that constant communication. You knew early on that the suspect had been apprehended. So a lot of the questions that we would get is, someone's been arrested, why are you still having to go through the entire building?
Well, somebody was arrested. You don't know the whole total situation. You have to think there's more to come, because we can't just say, oh, this is it, because then if something happens, we didn't do our job efficiently. So we have to make sure there's no other threat. We can't assume there's no other threat. We have to verify and make sure of it.
And then as the students were in lockdown, and Andy, you were in lockdown right there at the school with them. David, you're in constant communication with the police, and then you're out on site as well. Dr. Cavazos, you're now at the scene as well. One of the things that is very important to us is that we provide ongoing communication to families. How did that go yesterday?
Yeah, so Anita, that's a very important piece, that we communicate to the family, to community, to everyone around Lamar. And that communication began very efficiently in letting people know not to come to Lamar High School. The most challenging times to have lockdowns and incidents are before school, during lunch, and sometimes after school, because there's a lot of mobility, a lot of movement, a lot of things that people are just normal, habits to do, which is come drop off students, the buses are running and things like that. So the communication goes to all of them, parents, bus drivers, etc., to basically stay away from Lamar High School. And that communication worked. I think that's always something that is really important, that communication is clear, that it's understood, that everybody gets a message that is, quite frankly, simple to understand, and what action do I take as a parent, a student, a staff member. So that communication worked.
The thing that we were working on while the lockdown was occurring was something I don't know that we've ever done in our district, and that was establish a reunification center so that all of the families, understandably worried, who would not be absolutely, just heartsick over what was going on and scared for your kids in that building or your loved one that works there. So you guys were also busy while there making the call, you too, David Stevens, to set up that reunification center. Now, it's not the first time that conversation had happened. And David, I'll start with you because you had a full plan already in place on the what if we ever had to do this.
Correct, and we've talked about that. We've done some tabletop exercises on that. You plan, hoping you never need it, but then when you do, at least there's a basis. There's always going to be adaptations to it and make it actually work. There's always things that you have to assess, and modify during the process. So it's very fluid. But we did have that, and everybody stepped up and came in and helped, just as we hoped. It's a slow process. It's also another very methodical process because we have to ensure that we're releasing our students to the right people.
And that is critical. Principal Hagman, you're there at the school. It's now time for students to start leaving the building. They've never been through a reunification center either. But from all accounts, it looked like that ran very smoothly. I was on the receiving end of the buses. You were on the departing end. How did that go for the students and the staff there at the high school?
Overall, well. I think it was one of those situations where people didn't know what to expect. And so when you said, okay, we need you to do this, people said, okay, I'll go. But it was a long morning, for students and staff, and so we had to figure out some logistics along the way, such as using the restroom after being in lockdown for such a long time. But we made our way through and we figured it out, and I was very, very impressed and very thankful for the way that central office staff was at the reunification center, the way that the transportation department got buses to Lamar to get us over there. It was very impressive.
It really was. We saw buses come in 10 at a time with a police escort, and I know that was intentional so that everyone was safe. And then they were offloaded essentially at the athletics center, and we had the opportunity to test every system that you all had set up. And you were there. You came over with the buses, and the center was already operational. What was your observation when you walked through for the first time?
Well, Anita, the observation was that it was working as we had planned it. We've gone through these exercises before, and it was working the way it was supposed to. We know that it takes time, as David said, it takes time to release students to their parents, but it was rather seamless. And the escort from the police, the loading of the buses, the clearing of the classrooms, moving hundreds of students to a different location was very important. And I really want to commend all the staff in this entire process, in the reunification as well, of how that worked.
So we cleared everyone with the family part of it at around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon, but the work was far from over. Principal Hagman, you were busy planning for what was going to happen today. Superintendent Cavazos had made the decision not to have school on Tuesday, but your staff came in today and you were there as well. So I'll start with you, Principal Hagman, and then you can share as well. Dr. Cavazos, what was the purpose of having your staff come in on today?
We had counseling staff available, and we wanted to help our teachers be prepared for when students would return, and also to have counselors there for them. Because it was a traumatic event for our teachers as well. And so the opportunity to all be together in a space, to have an understanding of what took place, to have an understanding of what was going to happen next, and have it in a group setting so that we could reinforce and help one another through it, and to be ready for when students return tomorrow. So that was the intention.
And so tomorrow our students will return. We know that won't be an easy day. There's no way to make that an easy day, but you have made sure that there are supports in place for those students. Dr. Cavazos, what are the types of things that the district will do to make sure our students and staff at Lamar High School have what they need?
So we have a counseling response team that's already working at Lamar High School. from different counselors and this department counselors as well, to provide the support, counseling for students, for staff, whether that's individual, small group, to the classes if that's necessary. So we adapt based on the need, but we stay there for the long haul. So this is not something that we just do for a day or two. That continues, that support continues, and really will continue as long as it's necessary at Lamar, because we know that that's an important part of processing and dealing with this kind of trauma, is to have availability of resources and really to have those available on a daily basis.
And Mr. Stevens, you've been in contact with Arlington Police, who have assured us there will be even extra security from the police department on hand at Lamar tomorrow as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So with all of you, I know you have so many organizations, people, staff, students that you want to thank. We'll start a list and we'll leave somebody out without a doubt. But in the big picture, Principal Hagman, I heard you say yesterday that your staff and your students were heroic.
They were. The students who were directly affected, who were on campus, I can't even imagine for them how challenging it must have been, not knowing, hearing rumors, having to follow directions when you're uncertain about the level of safety. But they were courageous, and they were very patient and understanding, and I'm so proud of the way that they handled themselves and through a very difficult time. And the same thing for our staff. They were great. They're struggling too, and to still be in charge of kids and to still be responsible for them was a big ask for them, but they came through, and I'm very grateful for them. And for security and APD, fantastic response, and I'm beyond indebted to them.
And I know you've all been on the front line. You have not probably had any real opportunity to know what the community is saying. And in my role, I pay a lot of attention to what the community is saying as we work with the public, we answer questions. The love and the support is overwhelming, and I want you to know that. Tomorrow, as someone on social media, I don't know who, but they set up a big social campaign that went incredibly viral, and it's inspiring everyone in Dallas-Fort Worth to wear the colors of Lamar High School tomorrow. I think it's beautiful to see that kind of love from our community. There are prayer services, memorials. Everyone is doing their part to support you, to support your students, your staff, and everyone in the district. Dr. Cavazos, before I melt down today, I'll leave it with you because it is emotional. We don't ever want to come to school and lose a student.
Right.
We've seen other districts go through this kind of pain, and today it's us. What do you say to everyone at Lamar and our community?
Yeah, that, it's heartbreaking, Anita. Like I said yesterday, it is something that you never are really prepared for. But I know that at Lamar High School, I've spent time there. I know Principal Hagman very well. I know at Lamar High School, at the core of Lamar High School, there's love. And that love permeates for our students, for our staff, and for our community. And it's in that interest and in that foundation of love that our Arlington Police Department, our staff, our community, our faith-based, people that have reached out from across the state, it's in that spirit. And really, when you depend on that, Anita, we will heal. It will take time, and I know that there's a process for that. But I'm also thankful that we have strong leaders and security in our partnership with Arlington Police Department. But no doubt it's heartbreaking, and it's just going to take time.
I couldn't have said that better. For all of you that have prayed for our families, that have sent your love, that will wear your blue and gold tomorrow for Lamar High School, we really appreciate you. We know there are so many people to thank, and we just can't thank them all because we don't quite know who they all are yet. But just know from our frontline responders here at Arlington ISD, we very much appreciate you. Thank you for your love, and we'll see you soon.